The internet is more than you would ever want, but less than you expect. Because there is such a deluge of material, it's difficult to make a choice. Technology is not neutral. It comes with a message. It also comes with its own assumptions that you have to be aware of.
By the 1930s, a team of library scientists calculated the cumulative codified information base of the world, which in simple English means all the stuff we've been writing down since we started writing down stuff, would double every 30 years, which is a fantastic statistic because that means in one generation, all the world's knowledge doubles, which is quite remarkable because 30 years is like one generation. You know, parents and kids all work from different fields of knowledge, and that's why sometimes they don't understand each other. It's this generational gap. By the 1970s, that number shrank again, so that the cumulative codified information base of the world would double every 7 years, which is quite remarkable and a challenge for the educational system, because if children start school in grade 1, by the time they get to grade 8, there's a whole new body of knowledge in the world. So how are they supposed to keep up? How does the educational system keep up?
The internet, for me, is not in its infancy. It's still prenatal. It hasn't even been properly born yet. It's developing, it's growing. Give it another 50, 60, 70 years, then we can start talking about which is the best thing to do. We've got to try things, and as long as they're not obviously causing damage or danger, then let's just see how they play out over the next generation. The book wasn't invented in a day.
In fact, if anything, it's helped. There's a lot more people offering programs to masses that we could not do before. Like, you know, for instance, I offer teleconference, or I can offer my manual on there to thousands of people on my newsletter in one shot. And, you know, if they pick up one bit of information, that's more than they could have by, you know, ordering a book in the old days and not being able to, you know, get it. They can get this instantly.
One of the fundamental problems with individuals today when they want to be productive as knowledge workers is this problem of information bombardment. And information bombardment basically deals with how we get thrown all this information at us, and most of it's just not useful. I mean, if you think of an average individual who might receive 100 emails in a day, you know, maybe 10 or 15 of those emails are actually of use. 85 of them are, you know, the guy from Nigeria and people selling you Viagra. So we waste a lot of time going through those. In the next few years, the cumulative codified information base of the world will double every 11 hours. And that's an astronomical statistic because it means with the genome sequence and with the internet and with Google digitizing every document on the planet, it's going to be very, very difficult for people to keep up at that accelerated rate. And you think about the impact on your personal life. The joke that I always use is you'll go to sleep late on a Saturday night, sleep in on a Sunday morning, you'll be half as stupid as you were the night before.
People often lose track. They go in for one particular issue and find something that's interesting, go off on a tangent. And you know, half an hour later or so, they realize that they're off on, it's very interesting. Oh, this is excellent, really super stuff. But it wasn't what I came in for initially. And they may have to backtrack or, you know, go back and start over again. If you've got time, what's the harm in that? I like to do that. But it doesn't answer my initial question. If that was a question that I needed to have for some other reason, I've got to go back and do it again. It's a waste of time, yeah.
We're at a sort of a sandbox, a play sort of period in time where people are able to learn about how it works.
As individuals, we have to learn how to seek out information in optimal and appropriate ways. I call that the reduction of search costs. For example, let's say that you wanted to go to the movies and you wanted to find out what was playing in your local cinema. You know, 10, 15 years ago, that task was a little more difficult than it was today because you'd have to go get a newspaper. If you had a newspaper, you'd have to go down the street and pay for a newspaper, flip through the pages, find, you know, your cinema, look through the times. Now you could automatically have that information emailed to your BlackBerry. So every Friday night at 6 p.m., the email would be sent based on your appeal of what type of movies you'd like, and then you could go to the movies that night. So in that particular case, yes, the information has been made easier for you to get. But at the same time, there are other organizations that also want to seek that attention. So there are retailers who want to go after you, who want to send you information. There are other services and products.
I have Gmail as my email system, and it has this little thing of ads at the side of the screen. And most of the time they're totally off the wall, but every so often there'll be an ad for something I had wished existed, didn't know existed, and this odd little service or whatever has found its customer. It lets companies and performers and so on find their little niche.
On the one hand, we're trying to be more productive because we have the internet available to us. On the other hand, we have this thing on our belts called the BlackBerry, also known as a crackberry, because it's drug-induced because you can't live without it. Once you get that sense that you can have information at your fingertips, you can never go back.
This is a phone, this is a calendar, I can do ebooks, music, everything right on,
And because these things become so addictive, wanting to check our email, wanting to check our MSN, our Facebook accounts, our BlackBerries, it's very difficult to kind of put them aside. We're getting overloaded.
Is that good or is that bad? Is that dumbing down culture? Well, culture changes, and it will come and it will go.
We're still working within the shells of assumptions of how things work from previous generations. And until those are broken down and this gets to work within its own parameters, we're going to be limited. We're not going to know what we can do with it.
I still read books. I still use a pencil.
As an individual, you can choose to. The problem is when you become a member of an organization. So if you're an entrepreneur, you can choose to work and operate any way you like. If you work for a large organization and everyone's calendar and schedule and email and repository and data and information and documents is on one central server and people use BlackBerries to access them, you have no choice unless you want to be the unproductive one. And we know that in the business world, you don't last long when you maintain your unproductive position. So the question really boils down to this: how can we maintain productivity as knowledge workers, knowing that the world's going to be bombarding us with information, much of which will be useless to us, and knowing that the only scarce resource left today is your attention span? How do you choose to use the next 24 hours?